Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's weekly live immigration attorney chat here at Immigration for Couples. I'm attorney Megan Pastrana, and I'm happy to be with all of you here today. I see we have quite a few people joining us here live. If you are new to our firm and this is your first live event, welcome. We're happy to have you here. Our firm, Immigration for Couples, is dedicated exclusively to helping couples across the nation and across the world and navigating the U.S. immigration process. And we host these weekly live chats because we know that going through an immigration process feels nothing short of navigating a labyrinth, and it can be very overwhelming. And so we wanted to provide all of you with a community and a place where you can get the facts and education and support on your journey. Okay. And also, I wanted to let all of you know about our free resource center. It's on our website, immigrationforcouples.com. And we have, it's very robust. We have a lot of free resources available to you to help you in navigating your immigration journey. I know we have a couple people or quite a few people who join us on a regular basis. So it's great to see all of you. You already know the drill. So for those of you who are new, I always like to start by asking, where are you at in the world? And where are you at in your immigration case? You can put just starting out, middle, or sometimes we even have clients or followers rather who have finished their journey and come just for support. So for all of you. So just let me know, are you at the beginning, middle, end of that journey? And most importantly, how are you doing and how are you feeling? I know the immigration process can be overwhelming. And if you're watching this on the replay, please do a hashtag replay. If you're watching, we're streaming this on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram. Wherever you're watching this, if you're watching on the replay, do a hashtag replay and let me know the answers to those questions. All right. And if you have any questions as well, you can put those when you do the hashtag replay. So good morning, Ginger. It's so lovely to see you. I hope you're doing well. I know you had let us know recently that you had just recently filed, so that's exciting. You're one day closer. All right. And Rudy, great to have you with us. I will get to your question here momentarily. Thank you for being with us. And Terry, great to have you back as well. All right. And I'll get to your question. And Betty, good morning to you. You're in Canada. And oh, there you got I got a hey, Megan from Rusty. Hi, Rusty. Hope you're doing well. Ed's great to have you. Lisa, oh, good morning to you too. Yay. It's your first time here. Welcome. We're happy to have you in our community. Glad to have you here. Oh, and Ed's, that's great. You're finally done with the National Visa Center and you're getting closer. Super exciting. All right. And Phil, Phil and Ann, you're still waiting on the police certificate. Yeah, sometimes those take a minute, but hopefully you'll get it very soon. So that's great. All right. And Maria, good morning. Good morning to you too. You're waiting for your immigration journey and praying for a smooth journey. We are as well for you, for all of you, sending you prayers, positive vibes, all the good things. Yes, and you can definitely ask and throw your question in there, and I will go through them in the order I received questions here today. Great, and you're in Ghana. Great to have you, Adu. All right, so let's go ahead and dive in to the questions that we have here today. Rudy, you were the first up in the queue. So Rudy, you're asking, you're going through the K1 visa process, and you'd like to change your last name. When will be the next opportunity for me to do so without affecting my application? So in the United States, and when you're going through a U.S. immigration process, a marriage certificate is a legal name change document. So when you are going through a fiancé visa process, typically the phase in the immigration journey where you would be changing your last name is when you're filing for your green card, because you will be getting married after you enter on that visa. You'll have the 90 days, you'll get married, and then you'll have that marriage certificate, which, as I said, in the US, marriage certificate is a legal name change document. With it, you can change your last name. Name change rules are very interesting. One of the paralegals on our team, Catherine and I, we have done a lot of research on name change laws, and I won't nerd out on all of that with all of you, but I mention that because it's interesting that in some states they allow you to change your middle name. Like you could take your last name and move it to your middle name. Georgia is one of the states that comes to mind, and some countries do that as well. I won't digress too much and focus here on your question, but typically last name, that's what you're wanting to change. You can do that with the marriage certificate, and you would do that at the adjustment phase of the process. And you will change your last name by listing the last name that you want on your green card application. It's different for everyone. This is a fiance visa adjustment, so I'm answering your question specifically. But you, with that marriage certificate, that's when you would change it. And something else with name changes is that for some individuals, for some couples, and depending on where the immigrant beneficiary, the country of origin, typically you want to be able to change your last name in your country of origin too, on your passport of citizenship. And some countries have a name change process and can facilitate that, and others, name changes after marriage aren't something that's commonly recognized and something that happens. So some clients will opt to not change their last name because they don't want to have a green card with one last name and a passport with another. But that's something, we work with our clients on deciding if that's best for them. And others will opt, if you decide to not change your name during the adjustment process with the marriage certificate, another opportunity would be later in the future when you apply for U.S. citizenship. That's another time that you can change your name. So some of our couples opt to not change their last name even after marriage, and will wait until citizenship, because that the U.S. citizenship phase in the process, you can actually change your entire name if you wanted during that process. So yes, so the next opportunity, though, I'm not sure where you're at in your journey, but would be the adjustment of status phase of the process when you're going for your green card. And if you opt to not do that, then you could look at in the future of doing it at citizenship. And then Rudy, you had another question about remote work. Remote work is a tricky beast, and it requires an individual assessment of the actual position and how payment is received to say conclusively. So I can't give you exact or precise legal advice because I don't know all of the details, but I can tell you that remote work, or even let me go before that. Let me start it from the beginning point of the law that says an individual who is in the United States that doesn't have work authorization or a green card is not legally authorized to work. Well, that law was written before remote work was even a possibility, before it was even conceptualized as being something that could happen. And so it didn't take into account what a remote position, whether or not that would be legally permissible. And for remote positions, some of the things that immigration officers will look at, and it really depends on the officer how strict they are going to be in interpreting or reviewing that law. But in general, when an officer is looking at remote work to determine if there's been a violation of immigration law, they're going to look at, is this remote position 100% based outside of the US? Is it a non-US company? How is the individual being paid? Are they being paid from a US company? And that's where it can get a little tricky. You might be doing a remote position, but do you do contract work for clients inside the US? So there's a lot of gray areas. Another thing that they would look at as well is it entirely remote? So even if your position is remote and it's on the computer, are you having to go somewhere and meet with a client in the US or give a presentation in the US? So there's a lot of considerations that go into whether or not the remote position is legally permissible. And sometimes companies will have a remote position and there's a company, say in Australia, and then they have a sister company in the US. And if you were doing remote work, are you really doing it for the company in Australia or the one in the US? So it really comes down to what are the ties that this remote position has to the US, and are the ties so significant as to the point that an immigration officer could say, actually, this is a remote position, but it's being performed for a US company, or you're being paid by a US company. So that's a long that's a long answer to say. Again, I can't say it conclusively, but that gives you an idea of really the analysis that has to be done. And that's what we do for our clients to determine whether or not continuing in that position is viable, and whether or not that's a violation of immigration law. So great question. All right. So Terry, this is great. I know you had told us that your husband was having an interview, and so now he's had a second interview, and they took all of the documentation that you've been collecting, and they took his passport and all of the pictures and additional text messages, so all the relationship evidence. His second interview was 2.5 weeks ago. And you're wanting to know, is this normal? So a lot of consular posts. So I'm guessing your question is it normal to have two interviews for the U.S. Embassy or consulate, and is it normal to wait 2.5 weeks? So a lot of embassies and consulates we have seen starting to transition how they conduct interviews in terms of document drop off and the interview itself. So in our clients that are having interviews in United Arab Emirates and Abu Dhabi and in Ciudad Juarez and Mexico, over the past, it's been about a year now that they have moved to like what they call a bifurcated interview, or a 2-day interview. And they've done this out of the sake of efficiency. And actually, I really think it has worked very well, because they will separate it into, you go one day to drop off your documents, and then they give you a paper that says either come back the next day or 2 days later, and they do the interview. And the reason they do this is because there's so many documents that you're having to bring and that they're having to review. And this gives them the opportunity, it gives the officer the opportunity to collect those documents, review those documents. And the nice thing is if they have any concerns about any of the documentation or want to see something different, you're coming back and you can bring that other document with you. And also it gives the officer that spaciousness that they really need to take your documents, review everything. And then when you come for your interview, they're just focused on the questions. The document stuff is out of the way, and it has made things actually more efficient for the adjudicators to make a decision. So yes, we are seeing this trend. We've even seen our clients who have interviews at the consular post in London, something they've moved to, and Spain as well, is you go to your medical exam, and then after that, they have you go for your document drop off. So yes, we are definitely seeing immigration try to find ways, which is refreshing, and I support ways to make things more efficient through a separate document drop off day. So that's normal. And in terms of the wait time, it really is going to vary based on your case type, your consular post, your interviewing officer, the immigration history, the list goes on of all of the different variables as to how long it'll take for them to do the review. Depending on those factors, it may take a week or two for the final decision to be made and the visa to be issued. Typically, they let our clients know that day of the second day of the interview, their position and whether or not they're planning to approve the case. But it sounds like things are that you had a normal protocol for your case. So best of luck. Hopefully on one of the upcoming lives, you will come to let us know that you've made it to the finish line. That would be great. All right. And then, Rusty, you had another like update on your case. So you had your priority date was February of 2024, and you waited 15 months, and they finally opened the case in the system. So I'm guessing you mean like the petition. Oh, and I'm sorry. I said you had another question, but you didn't. I was conflating Rusty. I'm sorry. Okay. All right. Got my bearings straight here. So Rusty has a separate question, and you were wanting to know about the priority date and 15 months. So I'm guessing your online case status may say something like actively reviewed, if that's what you're meaning. And then I see you had put further down in the comments that the case is a spouse visa with a U.S. citizen petitioner, and that it was opened in the system yesterday. I'm not sure what you mean by opened. Okay, you said that, okay, that it's actively reviewed. Okay, there. So we're on the same page. You just said database reflected the case was accessed yesterday. Yes. So, is it normally adjudicated within days? Not always. Sometimes it still takes a few weeks. Sometimes it can take a few months. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but um, if you have and you're talking about your petition, it's still pending with USCIS, that it shows actively reviewed. It's been 15 months. We're seeing that most of our oh, Emma said the file was accessed. That's a new one. I haven't um I haven't had it ever say the file was accessed, but I know they're always changing their lingo and their terms to be more transparent. So if it really does mean that an officer accessed it, that's great. It will depend on your officer. Some of them are a little slow at adjudicating. They might be newer or whatever the reason may be. And what I was going to say is our clients who have a pending I-130 petition, we are seeing that most of them are getting a decision around month 15 to 16. It says online 17 months. We haven't had any take quite 17, but I wish I could tell you that you'll have a decision tomorrow, but it should be coming soon. I would say it typically takes more than a few days, but you're getting close. So keep us posted, sending you, or open. It said it was open. Okay. Sending you lots of positive vibes and all of that you get a decision soon. Keep us posted though. So, all right. Who is next here? All right. Greetings to you as well, Hector. You're in Georgia. Great to have you with us. All right. So, Hector, your question is about the I-130 wait time. Okay. So you were married in Honduras in 2023. The I-130 wait time is down from 23 months to 9 months. How soon after interview can my wife come to the US, considering everything goes okay with the interview? So, Hector, I'm not sure if you're still on the I-130 phase. Is that right? Is that what you're asking, that your petition is pending? Okay. Oh, and Ed's, you had a comment too. I'm going to get to that. So I'm guessing you mean you have an I-130 petitioning pending, still, that you haven't gotten a decision. So, and it's not clear is this a U.S. citizen petitioner or a lawful permanent? Okay, so it's an I-130 petition pending. Is it a U.S. citizen that's petitioning or a lawful permanent resident that's filing the petition? Because that will change the wait time. For a U.S. citizen, the wait time is typically about 17 months-ish to get a decision on the petition. If it's a lawful permanent resident that files a petition for a spouse, that's a solid 2 years to get a decision. U.S. citizen. Okay. So it's interesting that it showed 23 months. I'm guessing it's your online account that maybe is going through this roller coaster, perhaps. And the online wait times in your USCIS account do go through a roller coaster. They'll have like a really high estimate, and it'll go down and up and down and up and down. On average right now, it's taking about 15 to 16 months to get a decision, give or take. And then from there, after the petition is approved, the case is forwarded on to the National Visa Center. The good thing is that that transfer or that case creation with the National Visa Center is happening within a matter of a few weeks typically. And then from there, you have to submit everything and all the documents have to be reviewed. Usually that takes a few weeks to a month to get everything reviewed and put you in line for an interview. And then from there, the interview will be scheduled. And interviews are for Honduras specifically are about a 4 to 6 month wait, give or take. We've definitely had clients get them much sooner. So that's kind of a general estimate in terms of wait time for next steps. So, and you're checking monthly. That's good. Okay. Well, hopefully you get a decision soon. Keep us posted. Okay, and where am I at here in the queue? Oh, Eds, I was going to look at the comment that you left that Emma told you something too. Oh, that's okay. Eds, thank you for sharing that. So hopefully, Rusty, that'll help you as well. That they had that you knew someone that got a response in Emma that said the case was accessed back in January. Still no update on the case until now. So yes, unfortunately, It could, like I said, take a few weeks or a few months, but hopefully you'll get a decision soon, Rusty. But thanks for sharing that, Eds. Yeah, actively reviewed when immigration whenever they say actively reviewed or this access notice, it could mean a lot of different things. It could mean, hey, you're in the line and you're getting close to the front of the line. It could mean the file's actually on an officer's desk. Well, most of it's digital, but then an officer is actually in the process of reviewing it. It could mean a lot of different things. So it's not conclusive as to where you are, how close you are, but hopefully soon. Um, okay, so Olga, you're wanting to know, you're filing the I-130 and and you have withholding of removal. So I hope you have an immigration attorney that is assisting with that process, because when someone has withholding of removal, the filing of an adjustment application, I know you said you're only filing the petition, but the filing of an adjustment application requires some additional steps with that immigration court case, and there's definitely some complexities and risks there. So just wanted to throw that out there, and you're wanting to know about whether or not you need to include your medical exam and the affidavit of support. So the medical exam and the affidavit of support are going to be tied to your adjustment of status application, which and not your I-130 application. So if you're to send a medical exam or an affidavit of support, they'll take them. They'll take all of those forms, but they are not going to be able to do anything with those or adjudicate the I-864 because that is tied to the adjustment of status. And you are not able to file adjustment of status if you have withholding of removal, because the immigration court still has jurisdiction over your case, which means only an immigration judge has the ability to make decisions or review your case right now. So that's why I said it's really, really important. I hope you have an experienced immigration attorney that has experience in immigration court and withholding or removal to ensure that you are taking the right steps and understand risks and all of that before filing any additional steps. But again, the medical exam, affidavit of support, that's going to be tied to the adjustment of status application, not the I-130. All right. Okay, so in 2023, you got your K1 visa approved and you went to the USA to get married in 90 days, but you had to come back. Okay. So good question. So basically you received the fiance visa, you went to the US, you weren't able to get married and you left, and you're wanting to know about, filing for the fiance visa again. So I've helped individuals in this similar situation, and be prepared. You need to ensure that the application that's filed, and when you go to your interview, that you are prepared to answer questions about the why you didn't go through with marriage, because that is going to be a big red flag for an immigration officer to see that there was a prior application filed for a fiance visa. For that application, you have to tell immigration and you have to prove to immigration that you have intent to go and to get married and stay and complete the green card process. So that was the intent that you gave to immigration. That's the evidence that you gave them. That's what you showed them. And then that fell through. So again, that's going to be a red flag, and immigration is going to want to understand why and what happened. And you want to make sure that you're, of course, being honest and telling that story in the most clear and concise way possible so as to not cause additional red flags. So is it possible to refile again? Yes, we've definitely helped clients to do that. And it's really important to be very intentional and strategic in how that application is presented. Otherwise, you can quickly find yourself in a fraud investigation, right? And I'm not saying that that's what you did, but the optics of it, what immigration is going to see, that's what you have to be careful with. So yes, it's possible. But again, you have to be very intentional, strategic, and make sure you're explaining things to immigration so they can understand what happened. All right. Winmar, you're in Singapore. Great. Great to have you with us. All right, I can do a couple more questions here. Oh, and then you were asking about a spouse visa. That can be a possibility. It's not going to change the fact, though, that you had a prior immigration case that you didn't complete. And so you're still going to have the red flags that you have to mitigate. So, it's possible. It's possible to file a future application, but you do have a situation where it's going to be more complex and there will be more red flags. That those will exist whether you do the fiance or the spouse visa. Definitely worth considering both options to decide what's more in alignment for you and your goals. And yes, but great question. I'm glad you're asking before, just starting to, filing more things with immigration, because being in a fraud investigation is definitely not a place anyone wants to be. All right. So, John, great to have you with us. You have questions regarding the adjustment of status through the fiance visa after marriage. And you and your spouse is in the U.S. And there any interview with the couple before the case is approved. Okay, so you're basically asking about the adjustment of status phase after an individual enters on the fiance visa and gets married, how long that it's taking, and basically what to expect at the interview. So after you have filed your green card application after marriage, on average, it takes about a year or more to get a decision. And it's really going to depend on your jurisdiction. So the state where you live, because the adjustment of status, the green card application is going to be decided by an immigration officer and a USCIS, United States Citizenship and Immigration Services office in the state where you live. Some states like California have multiple offices, but it'll be in that state in your jurisdiction. So depending on the office, some offices have a very long wait time. The first one that comes to mind as a very long wait time is those that are clients that have adjustments pending in Chicago, for example. And then, other individuals in other states may have a shorter wait time based on jurisdiction, but on average, you're looking at about a year or more. And then for the interview, yes, immigration has shifted their policy yet again. Over my more than a decade of practicing immigration law, we've seen policies shift regarding interviews and who has to attend interviews. And so in general, for the adjustment of status process, an immigration officer can look at the application, and in general, they could waive that interview if they felt that there was sufficient evidence of a bona fide relationship and there weren't any complicating factors in the immigration history. They could waive that interview, but recent policy has shifted back to saying everyone has to have an interview. And that is definitely holding true, that adjustment of status applications for couples, even those who have come on a fiance visa, are having to be called in for an interview. So that will increase the overall wait time to receive a decision on the green card, because if everybody has to have an interview before the case can be decided, it will increase the overall wait time. So an interview is basically a guaranteed part of the process for couples now. All right. All right. You're very welcome, Terry. Okay. So, and you know what, Maria, I'm going to go back to your question, because you had started to ask it earlier and you were one of the first ones, but you hadn't finished it. And I see you finished it down here. So basically your question is about the police certificates, and the other viewers may have the same situation, where you're confused about the police certificate, and you're very welcome. And let me see. Did I miss part of your question? Is your question just about Benefray changes? Okay. So it sounds like you're just wanting to know about police certificates in general, and if an individual has lived in more than one country, what, some guidance around the police certificates. So in general, an individual who's going through a spouse visa or a fiance visa process, the U.S. embassies and consulates require that you provide a police certificate for your country of citizenship and any country generally that you have lived for more than 6 months. In some cases, it's more than a year, but on average, it's anywhere you've lived over 6 months. So, we have clients who need to sometimes get 4 or 5 police certificates because they may have citizenship in 2 countries and have lived in 3 other places in addition to their countries of citizenship. Some countries there isn't a police certificate even available, like Iran. If that, if we have a client from Iran, then it's basically impossible. There's no police certificate to obtain. And then in other countries, you might have to obtain two police certificates for that country. There could be a state and a federal. And yeah, so the starting point is for any of our clients is what are your countries of citizenship? You have to get police certificates from those countries. And then where have you lived for more than 6 months? Those are the questions we always ask. And then from there, we take that list of countries and we determine what police certificate is in compliance. And then we determine whether or not a police certificate exists and if it is available to obtain. And if not, is there a waiver or does it just not exist at all? And the way that you do that is through the National Visa Center reciprocity table. That's what it's called. It's called the reciprocity table. And the reciprocity table is essentially the US immigration system, US government trying to take all of the different civil documents and criminal documents like police records and compiling information and details on how to obtain those documents that are compliant with US immigration from each of those countries. The part that always gets tricky is that think about US immigration has this reciprocity table and it's for every single country in the world. And it's how you get a marriage certificate, how you get a divorce decree, a birth certificate, a police certificate. That's a lot of data. And so it's oftentimes is not up to date. So it might tell you, oh, this is the certificate that you need and this is where you go. And that might be out of date. So sometimes you have to do a little bit of additional investigation. But the reciprocity table is a good place to start once you know what countries that you need. So you can go through and figure out what is the acceptable police clearance document and what is the process to obtain it. So I hope that was helpful, Maria. I hope that, and okay. Okay. Oh, good. Here, you have some more that you added. Okay. So you had a prior citizenship, and I'm not sure if you put where your prior citizenship was. Um, I would still definitely look into getting a police certificate from your country of prior citizenship. And then now you just have your police certificate from Canada. And Canada that's a good one that the U.S. does have up to date. You have to get that from the Royal Canadian Mounted Police Patrol. RCMP, if I have that right. Yes, RCMP. If you go to the reciprocity table, in the National Visa Center reciprocity table, Canada, you put in Canada, and then you look at the police certificate, and it'll give you a link where you can obtain that one for Canada online. And often there will be two, sometimes one, but just definitely read those instructions. But I would really encourage you to think about getting of the police certificate from countries of prior citizenship too, just to be extra proactive and safe. So hopefully that helped answer your question. Okay, perfect. You're very welcome. You're very, very welcome. And Lisa, you're wanting to know if attorneys help to get those police certificates. Typically an individual has to obtain their police certificate for reasons of privacy and confidentiality, and the list goes on. But we give our clients the instructions to obtain them. Sometimes if an individual isn't living in that country and there is a digital process to obtain the police certificate, some individuals have to get a family member and give them power of attorney that lives there, or an attorney in that country that can obtain it. But a lot of police certificates, luckily, a lot of them can be obtained online. There are some countries, though, that have a very lengthy process to get the police background check. South Africa is the one that comes to mind. We always have our clients get started like at least 6 months in advance on working on that, because they have to fill out an application and mail it in, and it takes a while to get. So we help in the sense of giving you guidance and direction, but an individual always has to order their own background check. It's just like here in the US, when you order, your state or your FBI background check, if you've ever had to do that for a federal job or university and things like that, you have to be the one that does it and gives your fingerprints and all of that. So good questions today. Yes. Yes. Wow. Indeed. All right. Well, it was great to be with all of you here today. And I hope this was helpful for all of you. I know there were some questions that just recently came in here that I wasn't able to get to in the time that we had today. I will be back next week at 11 a.m. Eastern time. So I will be able to answer any of your questions then. If you can come at the start and ask your question, I can get through those questions. And again, if you're watching this on the replay, please do a hashtag replay. Let me know what your questions are. And please do check out our free resource center at immigrationforcouples.com. All right, everyone, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, take care of your mental health, and hang in there. And I hopefully next week we have some good updates. Terry, that you've gotten approved. Rusty, that your approvals come through. All of you who are waiting. Hector, hopefully you all start getting decisions that you can bring positive news to us next week. Sending everybody prayers and positive vibes, and take care all. All right, bye.